Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast, your source for all of the pertinent Commanders information from a fan's perspective. That's right. Your boy said pertinent. That's what kind of a day it is. My guy Mike is here. My name is Eric. Mike, how you doing tonight?
I am fantastic.
And I think we're going to get into why you're so fantastic here in just a minute. Ellie is going to be joining us. He had a last minute pedicure that he had a great deal on it, so he had to make sure he got they did the little between the toe massage. It's good stuff. So I can't blame him for that, but he should be joining us here any minute as we hop on. Boy, what's been going on? We kind of missed last week. We slacked a little bit, what with our jobs and lives and everything. But we are back this week. Obviously, we got the big win over the Chicago Bears. I think that's been talked about enough. What did you think of the win? What did you think of the win? First of all, Sunday over the Giants.
I like to say it was handling business win, not playing with your food win. It was probably closer than we expected, just like the last Giants matchup. But a division win on the road is a division win on the road. Daniels looked nice. The defense, they gave up a couple of big plays. But honestly, besides us winning, my biggest takeaway from the game is how Daniel Jones just keeps turning into Prime Vic every time we play him. And he even trucked somebody for a touchdown this game. Now, don't get me wrong. It was a very, let's say, circumstantial situation that allowed him to truck Fowler on the goal line, but he trucked him nonetheless. But besides Daniel Jones looking like Prime Vic, the defense was decent. And I have a feeling if that game was to be played again, it wouldn't probably go the same.
Yeah, I think you're handling the business type of win. It's a good assessment. It's actually one of my favorite games that I've seen so far this season because the score said it was close, but like there was no point in that game after that first Daniel Jones fumble that was recovered with the game plan that they came in with, which was a good, solid game plan, by the way. Just run the ball as much as you can and, limit mistakes. But Daniel Jones is your quarterback, so you're going to have mistakes. But once they got that turnover and then, we're able to get the stop on the next series, that game was never close again. Like, I don't think anybody really thought the Giants were going to come back and win that game at any point. Washington was in control the whole time. I thought Jaden Daniels played a really, really efficient game. And, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet. And, of course, the Hail Mary is going to get all the stuff. But, dude, there is just a lot to be said for just, keeping a team at arm's length and just holding them down the entire game and doing your thing. It's exactly what Daniels and this whole team did. So that was a really, for me, an impressive win. Could have been a trap game coming off of that big, surprising win, that big emotional win. All the talk all week was how amazing this team is. And they still came in and handled their business. Meanwhile, the Chicago Bears went up and got curb stomped out in the desert. So I think those two franchises might be heading in different directions this offseason. But to me, the best part, though, is that, the first half of the season is over now. And this team, the second half of the season is going to be a lot harder than the first half. There's a lot more tough games on the tap. You got the Falcons, you got the Eagles twice, who the Eagles, in my opinion, even after today, I still think they're probably top to bottom a better team right now than Washington is, talent-wise. So you've got two games against them. You've got Pittsburgh coming up this weekend. So you've got some tough games. Probably four of the best teams that you've played all season. There's really not. I don't think you've played anybody better than those four teams so far this year. But the good news is you've stacked enough wins now that if those games don't all go the way you want them to, I think you're still in good shape. I mean, you can really, almost like you could split the rest of the games. You can go 500 down the stretch, and that's still an 11-win season. So hopefully, they won't go 500 down the stretch. They'll finish a little better. But even if they did, not the end of the world. So there's a lot to look forward to. And things the news got a little brighter, which might explain your sunny disposition today. What do you think of the Marshon Lattimore acquisition?
I think it was the best move that this team could have made today. And very rarely does my thoughts and the actual reality align because I'm not an NFL executive. I'm not Adam Peters, not Dan Quinn. I'm not even a member of the team, member of the training team or the ball boys. They ain't got nothing to do with this franchise outside of being a fan. But the fact that they actually pulled this off to bring in a corner like Lattimore, it's a position that the team just straight up did not have. We did not have a CB1, at least a bona fide CB1, and they have one now. Like that's the story. That's the main idea. That's the point. Is to acquire a player that you could bring in that can contribute towards the end of the season, and that's exactly who Lattimore is. And I can't wait to see him, because watching him from afar when he was with New Orleans, you could just tell that he was a dog, man. That he always get in the receiver's face, energizing the defense. And that piece to this team with the roster that they have and the coaching that they have, very, very A+ type level move. I heard that thrown around a lot today. It's not for nothing. Very, very A+ type move.
Yeah, I want to go back to your comment real quick. Very rarely do my thoughts and reality intersect. I'm going to get that put on my tombstone. I think that's the most poignant statement I've ever heard on this podcast. No, I think it's exactly right. That was an absolute home run move. I was at some point, I had at some point this, earlier in the season, I was looking at teams that might start like selling. And I looked at the Saints and I was like, man, Marshon Lattimore. And I was like, man, that dude makes a lot of money. I didn't really look that close at his contract. The contract isn't terrible for the next couple of years because they just renegotiated the deal. So it's not super front loaded. He's got low cap hits for the next 2 years and a lot of voidable money there towards the end. So he's got a big contract, but it's really manageable. And it's just a great news. And speaking of great news, this is not a homeless vagabond that just wandered into our studio. This is the man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. L.E., back from hiatus. How you doing, buddy?
Glad to be back, man. It's been hectic lately. Glad to be back. I heard you guys talking about Lattimore. I actually do really like the move because I got so frustrated watching on Sundays, like our cornerbacks just getting like bagged and booked and cooked all the time. The thing about Lattimore is, like, if you go to PFF, he's not a PFF darling, right? Like his PFF grade the last 3 years has been in the 60s. And he does battle some injuries. But what you'll notice is, like, he's not a great run defender, right? But in the pass game, he's one of the better pass coverage cornerbacks. So, like, the run game brings down his grade quite a bit, which was the problem with Emmanuel Forbes, except for Emmanuel Forbes didn't really seem to be able to cover either. So I think just to set expectations, you're going to get a really good cover corner guy, right? And which we need more than anything else. But don't expect him to like completely come in and like change the run game on the outside. But happy to be back with you fellows. You guys have held it down so well. And I'm here just to add to the mix again. So glad to be back.
All right. I think you should resume hosting duties because it is out of my wheelhouse. But I'll ask a few more questions since I have the microphone and you all will listen. Yeah, I agree with you on Lattimore. I think what this team needs right now is somebody who can come in and just be a shutdown corner in the pass game. The other guy I was really looking at was Denzel Ward. I don't think I was alone. I think a lot of people were talking about Denzel Ward as well. But Lattimore is just a home run pick. So I'm really excited that we'll see how serious that hamstring injury is. It may have something to do with where he was playing, the situation he was in. It may miraculously heal now that he's, on a team that's winning. So we'll have to, it'll be something to monitor. Go ahead,
I hear
Mike.
Gumbo might like expand the hamstrings, and Mumbo Sauce might thin them out.
Oh, Mumbo Sauce. Half Smokes might take care of that mumbo-itis.
The hamstring.
Okay.
Go music might make it feel better compared to
reduces swelling. I've been told that the backyard band has worked wonders for high ankle sprains. So, Gumbo was out, Mumbo was in.
I was trying to think about like the tier of cornerback that Marshon Lattimore fits into in the NFL, and I'm kind of struggling right now because I don't think he's like a Jair Alexander. He's not like Xavier Howard. He's not elite. Like, he's not that level of corner, at least not anymore. But he's still a really, really, really good cornerback. I kind of made the comparison online to when we got Sean Springs, right?
Yeah,
several years ago. Oh, go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say Xavier Howard.
I don't know about that. That might be Sean Springs. That might be too high. I was thinking more D Hall.
D'Angelo Hall was the
acquisition. Trades on two from a team. So but man, if we can get a Sean Springs like addition, that makes me more excited. I was thinking more like D Hall.
Yeah, I think he's that's an interesting point. Yeah, Xavier Howard is the guy that always, like, I always, for whatever reason, put those two like right together as far as like top-notch corner. One thing I will say about whatever level he is, it's about 10 rungs higher than anybody on the current roster. So I'm more than happy for any sort of improvement there. And it halves the odds of me throwing my remote control at the TV because St. Juice got called for pass interference on 3rd and long again. Go ahead.
I'm glad you mentioned his name because he may be the biggest winner of the trade today, St. Juice, because all of a sudden, instead of having to check Devontae Smith or AJ Brown, you're getting matched up against a Jahan Dotson. You're getting matched up against Van Jefferson, the Steelers' 3rd receiver. You're getting matched up against McLeod for Atlanta. Like he's not going against the dogs anymore. He's getting the poodles. He's getting the lesser of the talent, and I think that's more of his realm. Like him having to shut down the Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, CD Lamb, Mouse neighbors, Malik neighbors.
Yeah,
like that's just not him. He's not a number one corner. He's always been a French CB2. CB3 type corner. So you bring in a corner that's significantly better than him. You have Mikey Sanderson, who you can put in the slot or put on the second wide receiver on the outside. He's proven this season that he could survive on the outside. You might not want him out there, but he can survive out there. And all of a sudden, St. Juice becomes, in my opinion, a very valuable chess piece because all of a sudden, like I said, instead of him having to follow dogs, he's following the lesser of the dogs or the lesser of the receiver group, and that's going to benefit him tremendously.
You can move him to Buffalo nickel.
Hey, even
you if you have to. St. Juice struggles with elite athleticism, right? He just doesn't have it, right? And he doesn't have ball blocking or he can't play the ball, right? That's why you get so many penalties and things like that. To your point, Mike, like if he's covered, that's a W. You know what I mean? As opposed to kind of where he was at now, where he's covering the elite guys. I found something going into 2024 season. Lattimore was ranked the 11th best corner in the NFL by CBS. Ahead of him was Marlon Humphrey from the Ravens, Denzel Ward from the Browns, L'Jarius Sneed from the Titans, Jair Alexander from the Packers, Jalen Johnson from the Bears, Trent McDuffie from the Chiefs, who's balling out, Travarius Ward from the 49ers, Jalen Ramsey from the Dolphins. I think he's kind of hit that hill a little bit. Patrick Surtain from the Broncos and Sauce Gardner from the Jets. Just below him at 12 was Trayvon Diggs from the Cowboys, Darius Williams from the Rams, and Kendall Fuller from the Dolphins, just to try to give you perspective on what you're going to get. Lattimore can be very inconsistent, but he has an A game that can match anybody in the league. It's just about, are you going to get it out of him? And I think we have the coaches and Joe Witt and Dan Quinn and the environment to get that A game out of Lattimore more often than not. I really, really believe that. And then it's about what can we do in the pass rush, right? Because once, a cornerback's best friend is pass rush, right? To speed the quarterback up a little bit. So I am super duper excited. All right, I'm a late guy to the party. Have you guys talked Pittsburgh at all?
We have not gotten to Pittsburgh yet. We were recapping the last couple of weeks, but Pittsburgh, it is Pittsburgh week, and I'm going to let you take the reins because you are the master of telling us what to do.
I am back. All right, so Pittsburgh is our game this week. I believe it's a home game, correct? By the way, Pittsburgh was a much better team when they played at Three Rivers Stadium. What a beautiful stadium, a beautiful name. But of course, we were better when we played at RFK too. But nonetheless, Pittsburgh is coming to town. Pittsburgh is a very good football team, as always. They are coached by Mike Tomlin. They are a pass rush team, right? And they just added some depth to their pass rush as well as their cornerback situation this week and the wide receiver room. Excuse me. The Steelers are 6-2. They lead the AFC North ahead of the Baltimore Ravens, although I think by the end of the season, that's going to flip a little bit. Now, Pittsburgh, not a tremendous offensive team, though they love to run the ball. You might say the Steelers look a little bit like us at times, right? And they also look a little bit like the Giants at times. So offensively speaking anyway, where they just pound the rock, right? They have Najee Harris and folks like that. All right, let's jump right into it. Eric, Pittsburgh's offense, right? Who are the key players on there, and what should we expect from that offense in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Pittsburgh has made some interesting offensive decisions this year. Going with switching quarterbacks when they're like 5-2, and they decide to switch quarterbacks. And to their credit, it worked. Russell Wilson, they haven't missed a beat. The passing game has maybe gotten a little bit better with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is, I always thought, like when we were talking leading into the draft, Caleb Williams always reminded me more of Russell Wilson than really anybody, just with the kind of chaotic run around until somebody comes open backyard style ball type of player. So Caleb is a guy that we've seen. I think that is sort of what he's going to bring. You also do need to account for Justin Fields, who I think we all remember absolutely. We saved his career last year on Thursday night in week 4 of last season, or week 3, or whenever it was. He is still there, and he is still available to throw the football if they need to. Najee Harris, their leading rusher, very, very good running back. He can run, he can catch, and he's having a really good year, almost 600 yards rushing. Jaylen Warren, a very nice change of pace back. Their backfield honestly looks a lot like kind of Washington's with B-Rob and Austin Eckler. And they have wide receiver George Pickens, who is, to me, like, I don't know, a lot of folks like to call him elite. I think I like to call him a Sports Center player. He's a guy that's going to make just ridiculous highlight catches, but maybe not always be there for the routine play. Like Buddy Ryan used to say about Chris Carter, he only catches touchdowns. He's a very good player. He's phenomenal. And it's interesting, they just traded for a player who's a lot like him in Mike Williams. They just acquired Mike Williams from the Jets at wide receiver. Two very similar big play type of wide receivers. And that's not to discount George Pickens, because he's a solid receiver. He's put up some good numbers this year, but he always struck me as maybe not as consistent as he could be. Although, with almost 600 yards receiving, he's playing well. Only 1 touchdown this year, though. I didn't realize that. And then tight end Pat Freiermuth, who's a bye-week pickup on your fantasy league every year. He's just like, he ends up on 16 different teams every season because you got to pick him up. So they have a solid offense. They're going to try to run the ball and throw it, pick their spots to throw it. Although Russell Wilson can still throw it around with the best of them. He's played very well since being installed as a starter at Pittsburgh. So yeah, their offense, while maybe not the flashiest thing in the world, is certainly no slouch. They've got lots of guys who can make plays. So the defense is going to have its handful this week. Yeah.
George Pickens has elite traits and average Joe mentality when it comes to football. And that's really what holds him back, is the mental aspect of the game.
Man, those Steelers fans are just going to be in this comment section all week too.
They're going to shred.
Come on with it. Bring it on.
Najee Harris is 14th in the league in rushing. Now, it's important to say that they had a bye week, because that matters, right? But he only has 2 touchdowns on the year. Now, granted, Justin Fields was rushing in most of those touchdowns early on in the year, but Najee Harris, for as big as strong as he is, he's not the red zone threat that you would think he would be with his abilities. I like what our defense can do against Najee, because he's not elusive. You know what I mean? He's all power, just straight downhill.
Like a B-Rob.
Like a B-Rob, exactly.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Mike, why don't you tell us how we'll defend the Pittsburgh offense?
We can't. No, I'm joking. So it's hard because the last two games that they played were against the Jets and the Giants, respectively, I believe. Both teams, they aren't trash on defense, but they're not necessarily the 85 Bears, if y'all know what I'm saying. So the reason those two games are important is because those are the only two games that Russ Wilson has played this season. And Russ looked decent in those games. He looked okay in those games. As far as how Washington can stop him, I think I'm going to have to piggyback off of what E said earlier, and they will have to use sort of the same tactic that they use versus the Bears, and that's stopping the run, or at least trying to stop the run, and forcing Wilson to make mental mistakes and make bad throws by forcing them and rushing them in the pocket. I'm not sure how much Lattimore is going to play on Sunday, if at all, because of the hamstring and him learning a new defense. Kind of a lot to put on a person in 5 days or whatever. But even without him, I feel like the defense can at least limit the Steelers from having an explosive game. And I guess that's the key to the week. It's just limiting the explosive plays, just like he did versus Chicago and tried to do versus the Giants. But that's the thing, though. They don't really have a quote-unquote dynamic offensive weapon. All of their weapons are kind of like, I would say, rugged. It's the best word I can use. Pickens isn't smoking St. Juice up the sideline for an 80-yard touchdown, I feel like. Maybe he'll beat him and he can get like a 50-yard catch or a big play or something. But I don't think he's that type of receiver that's going to smoke somebody up the sidelines. Even bringing in Mike Williams and there's another, I mentioned them already, Van Jefferson. Like, none of those receivers really scare me. Fair move. Like, come on. Like, he doesn't scare me. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, dangerous running backs. But when you face other similar type running backs throughout the season already, like a Rashad White, a Trey Sermon, a Devin Singletary, like, the difference between them and Najee and Warren aren't that drastic. Of course, he's not Derrick Henry, but who is? So I feel like Washington is in a good position when it comes to stopping the Steelers' offense. They just need to have continued better play from the defensive lineman. Johnny Newton has been playing great the last 2 weeks. Deron Payne has been, I would say, earning his money since John Allen's left. He's kind of been the bell cow of the defensive line. Fowler, low-key having a comeback player of the year type season, if you know what I'm saying. So, yeah, it's all up to the front seven, mainly the defensive line, to see how they'll be successful versus the Steelers. And I'm feeling a bit optimistic, which usually doesn't bear well for us.
Yeah. I think Warren, to me, worries me more than Najee does as a runner out of the backfield, just because I think Warren's more explosive, which gives us problems. I think we can, with the Steelers receivers being what they are, we can load the box up against the run, and I don't think that they're going to hurt us in the passing game like that. But Warren is more dynamic to me, so I think he presents the greater set of problems for us to stop. All right, let's flip the field, and we're going to talk about our offense against the Steelers' defense, which is a mighty pass rushing defense. Eric, what do you think we're going to do offensively against the Steelers' vaunted defense?
Yeah, the formula is there for what this team does, and this team. What I like that Cliff Kingsbury has established this year is that our offense is going to do what it's going to do, regardless of what your defense is trying to do. It may not work, but they're going to commit to the run. So, I mean, the Steelers have a really solid run defense, giving up about 90 yards a game on the ground. We've seen it, in several different games this year where, like Baltimore, Cincinnati, where the teams have loaded up the box to stop the run, and they've played, you're going to see this from Pittsburgh as well, a really disciplined pass rush, and they're going to force Jaden Daniels to make throws from the pocket. So far this year, he's shown that he can do that, and this offense has shown that it can adapt if the run game gets shut down. One, they're not going to go away from it, and two, even if it's not working great, it's still effective enough to open up the pass game. So that bodes well. So I do like that, even though Pittsburgh may be, I think Cleveland had a really good defense, but they got zero help from its offense. So I think Pittsburgh may be, since Tampa, probably the best defense that this team has played. So we'll have to kind of see what's going on there. But against the pass, I think Jaden Daniels, the throws are going to be there. And I think in recent weeks, Noah Brown has become a really nice Robin to Terry McLaurin's Batman. He was making some fantastic catches. Obviously, the Hail Mary a couple weeks ago, but against the Giants, he had some really big catches to extend drives, laying out, getting clocked on the sideline. He had a really solid game, and that bodes well. And then, of course, you've got the one-off guys, the guys that like the Creed Brattons of the team that get one opportunity and they just steal the show every time, like a De'Ami Brown, who he gets one target a game, but he inevitably takes that 35-40 yards and sets up a touchdown. A guy like John Bates, who can catch, off the sideline and truck a guy, but then you'll never see him again for the rest of the game. But they have a ton of guys that'll just make like one play a game, but it's a huge play, and that's a great thing. And Zach Ertz, he's going to do his thing at tight end. So I don't think the attack plan is going to deviate much from what it's been against every other team, because Cliff Kingsbury is just going to do what he's going to do, and make the defense adapt. So we'll see what Pittsburgh's got for us, but yeah. So look for what's the formula? 55 rushes and completed passes. So look for 25 to 30 rushes and 25 completions. 25 passes from Jaden Daniels, and that has been the recipe for success all year. So we'll see what we got.
Do you think that Brian Robinson is a must-have to win the game? If he can't go, are we doomed?
He will help a lot if he can play. Austin Eckler shouldn't. I love Austin Eckler, and Austin Eckler will tell you this: he shouldn't be your starting running back. He's just not that guy. He is a really good third down change of pace back. Chris Rodriguez is good enough in spurts. We saw that last week. Jeremy McNichol has a play or two in him, but none of those guys is that every down grinder that you really need for this offense to be effective. So not saying it's a death knell if they don't have Brian Robinson, but it's basically would be like if the Steelers didn't have Najee Harris. It would be a lot harder to win because he's going to get those tough yards. May not average a lot of yards a carry, but he's physical and he wears down that defensive front, and you do need that. And yeah, it'll be a huge problem if he's not there. Not insurmountable, but yeah, I would love to see Brian Robinson on the field this weekend.
Yeah, it would certainly help for sure. Mike, how is Pittsburgh going to stop our unstoppable offense?
They're going to neutralize us. No, I'm joking. It all starts with a key set of players for the Steelers. Of course, T.J. Watt. Of course. I always mix the two up. But I believe Patrick Queen is the linebacker that went from Baltimore to Pittsburgh. I think I'm right.
Yes.
Patrick Queen. Okay, so let me start over. T.J. Watt, Patrick Queen, Hayward, Fitzpatrick. Those four players, man, you got to know where they are every snap.
Right.
And I know that's a lot to think about and a lot to process, but that's why the Steelers defense are the Steelers defense. Like, that's why they play so well throughout the season. That's why they're a highly top-ranked defense. What are they? They are 9th in total yards and 2nd in points. And it's largely due to those four players, probably in that order. Let's start with T.J. Watt. Just wreaks havoc on the on the offensive line week in and week out. I mean, I done seen this Bama get triple team. I done seen this Bama get chipped by two players on the same play and still make the play and still get to the quarterback. And I'm like, you got three people on this dude. You got almost a quarter of your or a third of your offense on one person, and he's still making plays. And that's not to forget about Patrick Queen. Linebacker position is so hard to play in the NFL nowadays. He seemed to found out how to play it. He's been playing it well at Baltimore all those years. Messed around and went to the ops. Well, at least Baltimore's ops, not our ops. And the play has been continued success, in my opinion. I haven't looked at any PFF stats, but it's not like I hear Steelers fans saying, man, we should have never signed Patrick Queen. I've been hearing quite the opposite. Right. Hayward, always a staple on that defensive line. It's going to be hard to go against him. Though I like our offensive line with Alec Grady and Cosme probably handling him the most this upcoming weekend. But honestly, the person that scared me the most on the Steelers is Fitzpatrick. I'm not sure about his injury status. I haven't heard anything or like that'll cause concern for him to miss a game. So he will be playing Sunday, and he will be a nuisance for Jaden Daniels. Like straight up, you're definitely going to have to figure out where he is at all times, because it's hard for us to remember this, but let's not forget that Jaden Daniels is a rookie. He might not look like it, but he is a rookie still. And I feel that Fitzpatrick could set him up a couple of times throughout the game. The Steelers are the highest, I believe, at forcing interceptions per pass attempt. I'm sorry. So they are an opportunistic defense, and it's more than just Fitzpatrick in the secondary. Some of our favorite cornerback coming out the draft last year, Joey Porter Jr., he's still over there getting better, growing, doing way better than Forbes. So don't say I said it. And yeah,
they about to say he's no Emmanuel Forbes.
But yeah, they're doing the thing on defense, and it's not 100% scheme. It's not 100% coaching. It's not 100% players. It's everything all in one. Their defense is playing how I expect Washington's to play in a couple of years, but not right now. And that's okay. But as far as the offense, I think running the ball may be our best chance to move the ball on the Steelers. But with Daniels being who he is, I know the offense will be okay. It is just concerning going against a top defense in the Steelers. And I'll just end it at that.
Yeah, it always is. And this is where Cliff Kingsbury's going to earn his paycheck. You know what I mean? Like, he's got to scheme something that works. Now, our offense scores a lot of points, but we're not really dynamic in the receiving with our receiver unit right now. Terry McLaurin, of course, is all world. We love Terry. But beyond that, you get a little bit sketchy in terms of creating separation from some of the Steelers cornerbacks. With that pass rush, we're going to need guys to get open and get open super quick, right? And that's the thing that concerns me about the matchup with the Steelers this week. But there should be some massive holes for Jaden Daniels to run the football. Let's see if they take advantage of that or if his ribs still kind of hold him back from that. All right. Eric, who's your key player for this game?
It's funny. I've got two, and they're going to be equally important because of what you guys were just talking about. My two key players are Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler. I think those guys in the passing game are going to have a huge role this week because of the pass rush, because of the defensive prowess of that, especially front seven, and the secondary obviously is excellent as well. I think checkdowns and quick passes are going to be a big deal this week, and they're gonna bail Jaden out quite a bit. And Zach Ertz has been a very nice security blanket all season. Austin Eckler has 200 some odd yards after the catch already this season. I think you're going to see him as a relief valve quite a bit. So Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler, I think, are going to have to have really big games for this in the passing game for this team to have success this weekend.
Yeah. And Ertz has kind of slowed down a little bit. He got off to a really good start at the beginning of the year. He's slowed down just a tad bit. But, Mike, who's your key players for this game?
I kind of ended what I was saying about the defense, on who I thought the key player would be, and it is a cop-out, I'll admit, but it's none other than number 5, Jaden Daniels. Like, with him behind, y'all do understand. With him behind center, bro, like, I know it's only 9 games in, but when you look at the data, when you look at the plays, when you look at everything that has happened since this man has played in these 9 games, well, 8 if you take away the Panthers game, he can go blow for blow with any team in the league. And I know it's easy to say that when you haven't seen him struggle or whatever. I understand the the memories with RG3 and everything going wrong at the worst possible time. But I can't focus on what ifs and what happens and all that other stuff. All I know is that my eyes are saying in 2024, a quarterback that can go blow for blow with any quarterback in the league. And that's why this week is very important. Send a message to the league. Yeah, I'm going against the Steelers. So what? I'm still Jaden Daniels.
That's right. For me, it's Austin Seibert and Chris Boswell, the kickers, because I got a feeling this game's not going to be the high output that we're getting used to now with this offense. And the Steelers don't score a bunch of points either. So whichever field goal kicker blinks first, I think is going to be the team that loses the game. So those are my key players. Eric, go ahead with your prediction. What do you got?
I'm going to go. My key stat is going to be that Mike Tomlin has never lost to a rookie quarterback. And I think that holds true again this weekend. I was saying earlier in the show, the schedule is going to get tougher in the second half of the season than it's been in the first half. And the games aren't always going to go the way that we want them to. But luckily, fortunately, the team's been able to stack wins and we'll be able to survive a loss here and there. So I'm going to go Pittsburgh to take the win, and I'm going to go 23-21 Pittsburgh.
Okay. Close game, but they edge it out. Mike, what do you got?
Usually in such games, I would pick Pittsburgh because I'm like, yeah, this is too good to be true. We're going to run into a wall, fall on our face or whatever. But I ain't going to lie. Last week, Vegas had us favorite by 1.5. And it's continued this week. Washington is still favored by 2.5 points. So I'm going to think logically about this. You got a good team, a hot team coming off a road win. They're at home. They're undefeated. They have the better quarterback, quote unquote. I feel like the coaching might be on an even kill for the first time ever since Mike Tomlin's been in Pittsburgh and going against Washington. And the fact that the Steelers are 6-2 and they're still not the favorite, it does concern me. Like, I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, seriously, what is happening? Why do I feel so good about this game, despite all the things that's telling me we can easily fall on our face? But I'm going to ride with the momentum. I'm going to ride with the vibes. I'm going to ride with the wave. And I'm going to say that Washington pulls it out with a good old 23-17 victory.
23-17. Okay, so what I'm going to say is this is a quarterback league, and usually the team with the better quarterback wins. We have the better quarterback in this matchup, and it's not particularly close right now, even though he's a rookie. So I'm going to take Washington.
Shade at Russ.
Hey, right. You know, he's doing all right in life, but he's just not the better quarterback in this matchup. So I'm going to say Washington. I'm going to go 22-18 Washington. And I'm going to say we kick a extra field goal and Boswell misses an extra point somewhere. And that, my friends, is the difference. So, all right. Any final thoughts, Eric?
I can't believe I picked Pittsburgh Steelers to do anything because I just don't like. I grew up around Steelers fans and they're kind of the worst. But it is what it is. I had to go with Steelers this week. I'm sorry, Yinzers. You guys have the upper hand this week.
We forgive you, Mike. What are your final thoughts?
Honestly, thinking back to what E said earlier, if you play, or I think it was one of you guys said it, I can't remember. If the team plays 500 ball, they'll win 11 games for the season, and you hope they would play better than 500 ball. I've never seen an 11 win season from this team. So knowing that if they play mediocre football at the end of the year and they might mess around and have an 11 win season, that really makes me feel good about the overall direction of this team. The fact that Quinn and Peters can pull off such a season in year one. Year one, they did something. They'll do something that I've never seen. But that's why they play the games. I'm happy. I want to see how we fare versus Steelers Sunday. I want to see how we fare versus the Eagles 4 days after that, the Cowboys 10 days after that. And yeah, it's going to be a fun end of autumn, beginning of winter for this team. And I'm here for it all. I'm here for it all.
Definitely. And I think, the key is, look, whatever happens this game is not the end of the season, right? This doesn't determine the outcome of the season. But on the road to being a great team, you got to beat really good teams, right? And this would be a terrific notch in our belt on our journey to where we want to go. But I understand it's going to take Lattimore a little bit of time to get acclimated to the defense. I understand that, Lattimore allows Witt to alter his scheme to be more in line with, where he wants it to be. But I'm excited. I think we do pull this one out. I'm not sure what the weather's going to be like this weekend. I think it's supposed to be pretty good. But I think we do it. So, all right, Commanders fans, make sure you visit commanders247.com. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on all audio platforms. Share the podcast on your social media handles. Get the word out there. Tell your friend to tell a friend. And for the Commanders Declassified, we are out of here. And we will check in with you guys after the game. Peace.